Welcome back to Top of the Grid, the podcast hosted by myself, Scarlett Archer, and Amber Jones.
Today we're chatting to a very special guest. She is a NASCAR driver and a model. It is the one and only Toni Breidinger, and we'll be chatting to her about her journey into motorsport and the upcoming NASCAR season. Take me back to the beginning. You started karting at 9 years old with your sister Annie, so how did that come about?
Yeah, so basically I started go-karting when I was 9, just kind of out of nowhere for fun. My dad saw an advertisement for go-kart classes. Me and my sister weren't doing anything on the weekends, so we thought it'd be a fun little kind of like family activity for us, and little did he know that it would lead to all of this. But yeah, I just instantly fell in love with it, begged my dad for a go-kart, and me and my sister just raced around the country, just going to different races for go-karting for many years, and then eventually got into race cars. But yeah, kind of wild how it just started from just a random kind of weekend activity.
I know, like who would have thought it'd progress into this like amazing career that you've got now? Yeah. But what was it about go-karting for you that you loved so much?
Yeah, I think just like the thrill of being behind the wheel and being so in control. And I was kind of like, I probably wasn't like the most athletic kid. So I felt like this, like, I kind of felt like I don't know, I just felt like my athleticism like didn't matter as much in the sense like my sister was always like stronger than me, could like run faster. I'm like, this I kind of just felt like I could just get behind the wheel and just be a dog and just get after it. So yeah, I kind of fell in love with that aspect. And also the independence, like just being behind the wheel when you're a kid is like, so cool.
It is. I just remember when I loved go-karting, like I started like similar age and just as like a hobby, not professional at all. And I loved it so much. And I said to my dad, I was like, Dad, I want to be a racing driver. And he was like, yeah, all right. Who's paying for that? Are you sure? It's the same thing that I think you've said in a few interviews that you've done, that maybe your dad might have thought, oh, it's just a phase. It's just a little hobby they'll do whilst they're younger and they'll do something completely different. But when was that day that you decided, I want to be a professional racing driver?
Yeah, I decided very early on that I wanted to do professionally. I think for my parents to fully like grasp that that was the route I was going to go, it was probably more so in high school because I was like, I'm not going to go to college. I'm going to be a race car driver and move to North Carolina. So I feel like at that point, that was kind of like a pivotal point for them to realize like, oh, she's actually being for real about this. But I knew from such a young age.
But what was their reaction when you go, oh no, I'm not going to college? And they're like, yes, you are. What do you mean? What was their reaction?
Yeah, my mom is always so supportive. She's my biggest cheerleader, so she fully supported me on that. My dad really didn't say much, but I think he wasn't quite as optimistic as her. But thankfully, they were very supportive of me, so very grateful for that.
Oh, we love that. That's exactly what we want. I love my dad, and he helped me get my motorsport presenting career, but he quickly shut down that race car driver idea. He was like, no chance, you're not doing that at all. In terms of obviously progressing out of karting into different types of racing, where did you learn that? Because you said that, your dad didn't have a massive knowledge of racing. He just sort of helped you a little bit. So was it online research? Was it friends or different family members?
Yeah, so for the whole NASCAR space, when I decided that I wanted to, because obviously you guys know there's so many different forms of motorsports. So when I kind of decided that I wanted to be a NASCAR driver, I remember I did like all this research. I made this whole presentation for my dad, and I was like, Dad, this is what I need to do. These are the steps. And he still remembers that to this day. He loves telling that story. But yeah, I put like so much research into like, I was like, okay, I need to move to North Carolina. I need to, be in this program or like drive this race car. So I really kind of researched the steps. And yeah, kind of just used my own, I guess, kind of knowledge to make some decisions through my career. So yeah, definitely kind of had its kind of like learning bits and like ups and downs, just kind of like trial and error, I guess.
That's amazing. It seems like you kind of just one day decided that this is what you want to do. You're going to put your mind to it and do it. It's like, it's not one of those things where you're like, maybe I could, maybe I can't. Was there any point where you really felt like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, and had any doubts about it?
Yeah, I've definitely had my moments of doubts. I feel like that's kind of natural for everybody, but I feel like they were always fairly short-lived, and I'd be like, no, like I can't do anything else. Like I don't want to do anything else. So I feel like it kind of makes those moments worth it. But like still, like every so often I'd be like, shoot, like am I doing the right thing? Am I actually gonna make it? So it's still just like I feel like natural part of the process to kind of have those like ups and downs. But usually like I tell myself, give yourself like 24 hours. Like if you have like a bad race, get over it, move on, and come back stronger.
I mean, every kind of like negative thing, every mistake you make really does teach you. And one thing I'm dying to ask you, I've heard you talk a lot about like manifestation. So do you have any
Yeah.
like pre-race rituals that you like to do, or anything that you feel really helps you?
Yeah, I do a lot leading up to a race. Obviously, like a lot on like the training side of things, but on the mental side, I also do like a lot of mental work. I have a coach that I work with specifically to help kind of get dialed in on that side, and I feel like that's made a huge difference for me. Really being present has been a huge factor in. I feel like just confidence in the
Yeah.
races, and yeah, really big into manifesting. I always make sure to journal in the morning, practice gratitude, and yeah, I feel like it's just like such a good way to start the morning and just a good way to start your day and kind of have that like positive mindset.
It's definitely a really challenging sport, not just physically, because, it can be really difficult if you want to go out and, do a certain way in a race and you don't. So I think it's really important that, you take things mentally as well. So I think, as a female in this industry, have you ever noticed any like challenges or obstacles that you don't think you would have faced if you were a male?
Yeah, I definitely think there's stereotypes with female drivers, and I think there's definitely double standards, and I think that's for females just throughout life in
Yeah.
general, unfortunately. So yeah, I think that's something that we face every day. But I mean, I feel like it's something that I don't put too much thought into, thankfully. I'm like, their thoughts are kind of irrelevant for me, but
Yeah.
I hate to see it with other females and younger girls coming up.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, part of what I want to do is to help pave the way and hopefully kind of get rid of those stereotypes, but you also can't put too much thought into it because I feel like some people are just gonna want to think how they think and are gonna be so stubborn it's just pointless to kind of give them that attention. But yeah, definitely a lot of double standards for sure. And I feel like that's just, throughout life and in any male dominated space.
Yeah, well, it's amazing because, it seems like you knew that this is what you wanted to do. So you just threw yourself into it. And, like when you're on the track, that's all you really think about. It's like you're not, with really anyone else, you're just driving. So it's really like powerful. And, I guess when you love something that much, all the other comments don't really matter because you know what you want to do, you know what you want to achieve. So it's like, I know I can do it. Who cares what everyone else is saying?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like for me, I've always told myself like these people don't actually know me. They don't actually know like what I'm doing behind the scenes to prepare. They don't know my potential. Only I know my potential. So just keeping that in mind, I feel like has really helped me kind of just cancel out those comments and other people's opinions.
So, what advice would you say that you have for, young girls or maybe just young people in general wanting to get into the motorsport world or moving up the ranks in motorsport?
Yeah, I have a lot of advice. Like I said before, like lots of trial and error for me. So I love sharing kind of what I learned along the way to help other girls kind of speed up that kind of like learning curve in the process of all this. But I always say, don't be afraid to be the first you. I think that kind of goes for anybody in life. Don't be afraid to be the first one to do it just because no one else is doesn't mean that you can't. And for motorsports, I think just like, if somebody wants to get into it, I started in go-kart. So I always recommend that. And practice makes perfect. And I think just getting in whatever you can like get in to make laps at a track is always a good place to start.
I think that's what I'm struggling with now because, like I said, growing up, I was like, I did have that racing driver dream. Now I am doing more the broadcasting, but I was like, I've had so many opportunities where I've had to, jump in a car or a cart or whatever. So for me, I get quite frustrated. I'm like, why aren't I as good as so and so? Or I've just brought someone with me and they're better than me. Like,
Yeah.
why is that? It's always because I don't have enough seat time. I've not had enough practice. And the more you do it, you're like, wow, okay, I've improved. I maybe shaved off a few seconds from this track and then I can bring that maybe to the next track because I know what to do. But it is so crucial. And I didn't realize it until this year. Well, last year, coming into this year, you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
I need as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely. It's not nothing about it's like a natural feeling. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not like motorsports isn't like a natural thing. So yeah, I think just the seat time is everything.
But you've had, a fantastic career. You did do the Speed 2 Western US Asphalt Midget Series and you were the champion in your third year. How was that? That must have been
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it's funny because that was kind of like my introduction to oval racing and growing up in go-karts. A lot of people would race on road courses. So that was kind of my introduction to it. And I just remember I'm like, what is this like whole new world of oval racing? Like I remember it kind of took me a second to get a hang of those cars, but ended up falling in love with them. But yeah, I raced those for I would say like 4 or 5 years in the midget series. I think I got second second in the championship like my second year, and I really wanted to move on to NASCAR. My dad's like, you have to get the championship before like I would support you moving on. So I was like, okay, third time's a charm. And then I got the championship. And that's kind of when I kind of started that transition into stock cars.
And how was that transition into that series? You know, from growing up and doing a lot of karting, and then you move into those series, was it quite difficult for you or quite seamless?
Yeah, I would say it was difficult just because I knew nothing about that space and that industry. I, did go-karts for so many years. So I, knew people in the space, and it was just hard, like entering a new space, kind of like a different world. Like it's kind of its own thing, I feel like. So kind of just learning how to navigate that, figuring out, what team to drive for. And, just, I feel like there's just like a lot of learning along the way. So I would say it wasn't a very seamless process, but looking back, I feel like I can kind of look back and be like, okay, like the tough moments, like it all kind of like led me to this.
Yeah, exactly. I think they do shape you, and like in the time they're so difficult, and then a few years later you're like, wow, look at how much I've done, how much I've learned, how much I've conquered. So it really is about, giving advice, so maybe it is a little bit more seamless for people making those transitions. Who was helping you? Who can they go to try and not make some mistakes or some errors, for example, the wrong team or the wrong sponsors, things like that?
Yeah, like for instance, like if you ask me like probably like 10 years ago where I'd want to be, I'd probably say that I want to be in this spot that I am right now, like back then. So I feel like it took me longer to get to where I want to get, but also I'm like, well, maybe in that moment, like 10 years ago, I wouldn't be able to take advantage of the opportunity that I have right now. But kind of going back to what you just asked, for me, it was just like really kind of figuring it out on my own, honestly. I didn't really have too much, like I never had a mentor. I didn't really have anybody to really ask. So that's why I'm so open if somebody messages me like on Instagram or just somewhere asks me a question. I'm always open to answer because I don't really have that person. So it's kind of nice to also like have podcasts like this where you guys can like talk to us, and then younger girls can listen and kind of get some guidance from it.
But that is so amazing. The fact that you've done all of this by yourself. Like when I was like, obviously like researching you and find out all this information, I was like, this is just the girl that can. Like she can literally do everything from the modeling to the racing to, you get work with these amazing brands and sponsorships. You can literally do everything. Like you were the amazing poster girl to show you can go after your dreams. And the fact that you're saying you didn't have, X, Y, and Z telling you what to do and where to go, and you've learned by yourself, that is so inspirational. Like I hope you realize, but that is so fantastic and a massive inspiration for myself, for Scarlett, for all girls and whatever aspect they want to get into racing or just in general in life. You are such an inspiration, honestly.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. It's crazy looking back at, what I've been able to do so far and brands I've been able to work with, because I mean, there's brands that I'm working with now that I've always dreamed of working with. And it's crazy that like, I didn't have like any sort of, I guess, like connection to the brand previously. I was just like, I don't know, like a young girl kind of like starting from square one, like anybody else would. So it's kind of very surreal. Thank you. I appreciate it.
What was it like working with Victoria's Secret?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Amazing. That was a dream brand of mine to work with. I remember when I was younger, like my two dreams were to be a Victoria's Secret model and a race car driver, which is a weird combination.
Wow. Achieved.
Yeah, so crazy. But I remember this like exact moment so vividly, which is weird because I feel like I don't remember too many things. Like I don't remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday. But I remember this exact moment where I was in middle school and I was like telling my friend, I'm like, I'm going to be a race car driver and a Victoria's Secret model. And she's like, you can't do both. Like, that's literally not possible. Like, you can't do it. And I remember that moment, which I don't know why, but it kind of stuck with me. And it's crazy that I actually was able to achieve it. And I kind of feel like that comes back to like manifesting and just hard work. And always, I don't know, for some reason I thought I could do it and I did. But it's just like a weird concept that I had, that kind of like confidence and determination at a young age. But yeah, I feel like you put your mind
That's
to
amazing.
it.
And she probably didn't say it in like a rude way. It just does
No,
sound
yeah,
like
it's
something
just
that you can't do. Like
Yeah.
a race car driver and a Victoria's Secret model. It's like, in what world
No, that was
do
literally,
people do
like,
both of them?
Yeah. Yeah, she was like, that made sense for her to say that. What I was saying was not logical at all. So yeah, it totally makes sense what she said.
One thing I'm really jealous of is the whole raising canes thing, because I've not tried raising canes yet. I want to try it so badly. It looks so good.
It's amazing. Yeah, they're on my truck for Daytona this week, which is so exciting. And I'm gonna get Raising Canes. We don't really have one nearby North Carolina, so I'm excited. There's one right across the street at Daytona, so super excited.
Earlier I saw on X about your new merch and it looks so cool. So how did you
Thank
come up
you.
with the design of it? Because I love it. I love like the colors. It looks awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. So I have somebody that actually like designs the shirts, but I always come up with the creative concepts, and I'll brainstorm with other people about it. But yeah, I feel like I love like creating like merch or even just like the design on my helmet. Like I think that's so fun. Like I've always
Yeah.
like been super passionate to like branding and kind of like marketing stuff. So I love being involved in the process of my merchandise. But yeah, I love kind of a retro NASCAR vintage look. So I feel like we always try to incorporate that into the merch that we create. But yeah, I think it turned out really sick. So I'm excited.
That's amazing.
Please help me with designs. Please. I
Yeah,
need
no,
help.
yeah, no, I think like design, like creative processes are so fun. I feel like that's also why I love being in the fashion space and like being on set for photo shoots because you get to like create something exciting.
Yeah, that's what I love though. I think, when racing drivers will put on their social media, like, I've teamed up with this brand or this sponsor and like their helmets and their race suits look so cool.
Yeah.
I am always so jealous. I'm like, I want that helmet, please. I want that race suit. I mean, your race suits are definitely some of my favorites. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm
Thank
going to go
you.
Tony inspired, I think. That's what we'll do with the race suits. But take me back to sort of breaking into that NASCAR scene. How was that for you? Did you have any expectations getting into it?
Yeah, I would say I definitely had a lot of expectations. I feel like, initially getting into it, I'd compare myself like, oh, this person is doing this or this driver is doing this. I need to do something similar. So I feel like I had a lot of expectations, which I eventually realized probably weren't, the most realistic ones to set. But yeah, it was definitely a tricky process. I don't really know how to like condense it in like a short form, I guess, because it was kind of like a few year process for me. I moved out to North Carolina when I was 17, 18 when I graduated high school. And now I'm 25 and really, getting the start of my NASCAR career. So it's definitely a process. A lot of just, meeting people. I worked at like a smoothie shop out here and I was like, I can at least like maybe meet some people in the racing space because I had no idea how to meet anybody. So I was like, well, maybe if I work at this smoothie shop, like somebody in a racing team would like walk in and I could talk to them. And I actually did have a chance to talk to a couple drivers that walked into that shop. But I think just networking was the biggest thing. Like I had no idea what I was going to do when I moved out here, but I was like, I know everybody's out here and I know how important connections are and to network. So I kind of made that step and I don't really have like an exact like, oh, like I did this, this, and this. It was just a kind of like everything together kind of just ended up working out.
Yeah, quite naturally.
It's kind of what everyone says. Like every time we ask someone how they got into like the industry in general, it's like some crazy story that you could never think of because everyone is so different. And that's why, you can give advice, but then when people are like, I want to know exactly how you did it, it's like you can't tell them because, everyone did it in a different way. And, one thing that I think that is quite difficult can be networking because I think sometimes people are a bit scared to, really put themselves out there and be seen as like annoying or something. But I mean, I always say the worst thing that someone can say is no. And then it's like, okay,
exactly.
At least I tried because you're never going to regret, putting yourself out there and, giving business cards out and things. The worst thing that can be done is that you get turned down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you never know where a connection could lead. And maybe nothing will happen in the moment, but maybe like years down the road, something will come from it. So yeah, I agree. Like worst thing they could do is not reply to like an email, which has happened to me plenty of times. So I mean, it's just kind of part of it. Like, and sometimes people are just busy and they miss it. So at least that's what I tell myself. Like they just didn't see it. But yeah, you never know. I just think making those connections is super important. Because also you can learn something and maybe they'll know somebody that can help. So yeah, I've talked to so many different people throughout this whole process, and yeah, all those little connections eventually helped me.
I think people do struggle with networking the most. I think especially people that are a little bit more introverted, they're like, how do I go up to someone and say, I want to be a racing driver or I want to be an engineer? They don't know how to do it because obviously they're quite shy as a person anyway. So is there any advice that you could give that maybe might suit people a little bit more shy?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, social media is like a great way to, you have time to like write what you want to say, like you're not like face to face with a person. So I feel like that's great if you're not like super confident and like, talking to somebody face to face, like reaching out to them on social media. LinkedIn is a great tool.
Yes,
So
we love
yeah,
LinkedIn. We
yeah,
love it.
or like just sending emails. I mean, I see that all the time. So I feel like those are kind of ways that like if you don't want to just like walk up to somebody, and it's also like so much more accessible. Like you might not even know
Yeah.
where to talk to this person, but reach out to them like in an email or something. I feel like it's a lot more accessible.
Like how we're here today. I dropped you a
Exactly.
message, then
Yeah.
we're on email, going back and
Yeah.
forth. That is the best way to do it, I think. So, and I always say to people LinkedIn, and people are like, but LinkedIn's like a business platform, I don't know how to use it. I'm like, go on LinkedIn, type in, you know, who you're looking for, whether it's a brand or a team, and you'll see, you know, the people that work under that company. And then like address it that way. And like you say, if they ignore you, they're probably busy, they might not have time to, you know, give you some of their time. Just leave it and then try again. And I think
Yeah,
that's
I'm
all you
like
can do.
better. I feel like when you try to catch somebody in the moment, maybe they aren't like, free to talk or in the middle of
Yeah.
something. So I don't know. I feel like social media is like such a great tool for that.
I mean, you have obviously a massive following on social media, and that comes with some great things, but also some negative things. So, focusing on the great things that it does possess, that can help you with brands and sponsors. Has it helped you in your racing career?
Oh, so much. I mean, obviously you guys know motorsports is very expensive. So for me, that just adds value to my brand and to who I am to get sponsorship. So, yeah, it's funny because I feel like some people don't really get the concept of that, but I'm like, no, like I have to do these posts, and I also love doing it, which is great. But like part of it is my job, and yeah, just funny people don't realize the whole structure of it all sometimes. But
Yeah, because we talk about it a lot, don't we, Scarlett? That even as presenters, you do need to have a little bit of a following. I think a lot of presenters come into it, and I can say I was like that myself. I was like, I just want to do my job and then go home. I don't want to edit, and I don't want to do all these things. It is so crucial. It gets you seen. Obviously, then you can connect with people. You might get more jobs, and in your aspect, it's more sponsors, more of a financial aspect of it. You do really need to push it. But then there comes the negative side. Have you faced a lot of negativity on social media? And if so, how do you overcome that?
yeah, I mean, there's so much negativity. It's crazy. I'm like, gosh, how can people
Always.
so mean? Especially
Yeah.
like, I'm like, you guys are waking up in the morning, like being like mean like that. It's crazy.
I know.
But I feel like for me, it's just about ignoring it, which sounds like so lame. And it's definitely easier said than done. I mean, sometimes I just won't scroll on like certain platforms. Like I know like Twitter's like kind of scary sometimes. So I won't scroll on
The
Twitter.
worst.
Yeah. So I'm like, I just feel like I know which platforms, like I'll let myself scroll, like Instagram, like when I first upload a photo, like I'll start scrolling through comments like early on. Cause I know like if you're commenting on my photo that early, like you're probably like a genuine fan. So yeah, I feel like I let myself scroll a little bit because I want to read the comments and I want to, answer people who are supporting me. But yeah, I feel like sometimes it's hard to avoid the negative comments. But yeah, I think to me, I'll just try to brush it off and just think to myself, like, they don't truly know me as a person. And it's funny because people will take like one thing I post and think I do that like all the time, or like I'll just see comments. I'm like, wow, it's like actually so not true about myself. That's crazy that they're saying that.
Yeah.
It'll make me mad. I'm like, I want to answer, but I'm like, like they don't know who I am. I know who I am, and I don't need to prove that to them because just giving them that attention is just gonna like satisfy them. So yeah.
I'm so glad that you don't let it get to you too much, because obviously some people, it affects them so bad and it makes them not want to be a racing driver or not want to post on social media. And it's so sad. You need to like really overcome that. But also with your modeling, does that then help your racing career at all, or are they quite separate?
Yeah, I feel like they go hand in hand very well. The funds that I get from modeling campaigns and modeling jobs, I put everything back into racing. And a lot of jobs I get is because I'm a race car driver and they like that I kind of have that backstory. Yeah. So I feel like they really go hand in hand for me. I'm able to, be in campaigns, but also put the brands like on my race car. So I feel like we have like a nice little combination.
It's weird because you wouldn't think that they go together, but like, they end up working out really well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very polar opposite worlds, but I feel like I don't know, it just worked out really well for me, and I feel like they're both like authentic to who I am, so maybe that's also why it worked out. But yeah, it's like a funny combination, and I feel like people are always like, oh, you can't do both, like you have to choose one or the other. I'm like, no, like they go hand in hand. Like I'm racing because I have like this modeling job. So yeah, it's funny because it's different. I feel like it's out of the box, so some people get scared by it.
But you can do it all. And that's what I say. You literally can do it all. But I think as well, it gives you longevity. you know, with your career as a whole? Because you look at the likes of Lewis Hamilton, some people who aren't in the motorsport world don't even know he's a Formula One driver. They're like, oh, it's just Lewis Hamilton because he does all these different gigs. You know, he models and he can sing and he has his own companies and brands and he helps out with loads of charities. Not everyone even knows that he's this fantastic, the GOAT of Formula One. So
Yeah.
I think it gives a racing driver longevity if you have these
For
other
sure.
things that you can then fall back on or put
Yeah.
more focus in at times. So definitely, I think
Yeah.
the way you're saying it does really help you and it does go hand in hand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Lewis is like the blueprint for me. I feel like I looked at him so much younger when I was younger. So
You had a really, really successful 2024. You were doing, amazing in racing. So what was your favorite moment, do you think?
ooh, I would say my favorite moment, I think, was like the week-long stretch of like Daytona. I was doing some local races, and like a late model, which is kind of like the grassroots level of stock car
Yeah.
racing. So I was doing that, and then I flew out to Fashion Week for a day, and then came back to that, and then it was Daytona. So it was like a week of just like racing every day, and then like a random like fashion thing in the middle of it, and it was just like it was like all my favorite things like in one week. So that was like definitely my favorite week, and that's coming up like this coming week. So running it back. But yeah, Daytona is always one of my favorite races for sure on the schedule. Just kind of like our bigger race of the season, definitely our biggest one. So last year I did the truck race, and that was like my only truck race. Now I have a full schedule, which is exciting.
Wow.
But yeah, it's gonna be an exciting week.
Am I right by saying that, so you're racing at Daytona on Friday, next Friday, the 14th?
Yeah, the 14th. Yeah.
Yes. So you're looking forward to that?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I remember this is I think it's maybe my fourth time racing at Daytona, but second time in the truck. So I feel like I have like a little bit more confidence this time around. Like last year I was so nervous because I did not know what to expect. But it was so fun. It was like the best race ever. Well, I mean, I got wrecked, but like the whole like aspect of it, like it was like the best thing. I loved it. And I was able to kind of like I was frustrated with the end result, but like the whole thing of it, I'm like, wow, like that was cool. So I feel like I was able to kind of like take the good from that. But yeah, I'm very excited for it. I've Raising Cane's on the truck, which will be really fun. And yeah, it'll be a busy weekend, but it'll be a good one for sure.
But you had mentioned, you are making your NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series entry this year. How do you feel going into that?
Yeah, I'm excited. It's definitely going to be a steep learning curve, but I think I'm excited for the challenge. Like I want to be challenged and I want to push myself and I want to, I feel like my comfort zone's here and I want it to be like up here, like by the end of the year. So, yeah, I'm excited for the challenge. I know it's going to be tough and I know there's going to be moments in it where I'm going to be like, dang, like, this is hard. But I think just trusting the process, enjoying every bit of it, the ups and downs. And yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting season, and I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think I've been working on being comfortable with being uncomfortable, so I'm excited to kind of execute that.
Has there been anything now entering more higher level series where you've had some comments made towards you or, as a woman or just in general entering the sport?
Yeah, I think as I've gone up through the ladder system, people act like I don't belong there or like I just got lucky or kind of came out of nowhere. I'm like, you guys are learning about me now, so maybe I'm new to you, but I'm not new to this space. And this has been a journey that I've been on for, like over a decade? No, oh my gosh, like 2 decades. I mean, since I was young, however long that, like whatever the math is on that. Oh my gosh, a long time. But it's funny because I feel like, being in the NASCAR Truck Series, I have, more exposure and got introduced to like a new platform of fans. And they think I came out of nowhere and that I'm just like doing this for fun or for attention. I'm like, no, like this has been a process that I've been working on ever since I was little. Like, I mean, if I wanted to be just famous, I would, there's easier ways to go do that. This like has been a grueling process that I've stuck to. And when I was younger, like I wasn't trying to get famous. Like I did it for the love of racing and I'm still doing it for it.
You've had such a fantastic career as well, being the first Arab American female to enter NASCAR. Is there a sense of pressure to be like, oh, I need to be making history, I need to be making all these movements? Or are you just so empowered by that and just want to help and inspire other girls?
Yeah, I mean, I think I do carry a lot of responsibility with that because I do want to pave the way. I mean, I think the fact that I was the first is kind of crazy. And I remember when I raced Daytona, I became the first Arab American female in NASCAR. I didn't know that was even a thing. Like I was like, really, I'm the first? Like that's actually wild because NASCAR has been around for ages. So at first I was very surprised and then also disappointed. Just the fact that nobody has had that opportunity before me was disappointing to hear. So after that, I really realized, how the sport has been lacking that diversity, inclusivity. So then I kind of took it upon myself to really be like, wait, no, like I need to be a trailblazer and, my success will, hopefully help others, get through the doors a little bit faster. So yeah, I carry with a lot of responsibility, but yeah, it's a cool thing, but yeah, not like it's tough because you want to be the first, but you also don't want to be the last. So just yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But you do a lot for, women in the sport. You worked with the Women in Sport organisation. Tell us about your work with them.
Yeah, so I work with the Women's Sports Foundation, and I've been working with them for a few years now. And they're great to work with. We do like a gala with them every year, and it kind of is like a little networking event where I can meet so many other female athletes. So I always look forward to that every year. So yeah, they do so much for younger girls in sports, and they also give me the opportunity to help network. And yeah, it's a great foundation to be a part of.
You honestly are such an inspiration. So now we're going to move on to the game part of our podcast.
This is my favourite part.
It is. It's the best part. So go on, Scarlett, we'll head straight to you.
Yeah, so we're going to do this or that. So then you just pick which one you think. So my first one is early bird or night owl.
Ooh, early bird for sure.
Early bird. I'd say the same.
Jealous.
I'm always awake early.
Yeah, I love, like, I don't know if I'm just being competitive, but I love being up before like the sunset.
Okay, amazing. Mine is more motorsport based. So, I mean, I guess this is a bit of your other parts of your career as well, but modelling or racing?
Ooh, racing. I love modeling, but definitely racing.
My next one is summertime or wintertime.
Summertime for sure. I'm a summer baby. I was born in July, but like, no, I think I'm actually allergic to the cold. I can't stand it.
My next one, 2 British brands, but McLaren or Aston Martin. And this isn't like Formula One based, this can just be automotive. It can be Formula One if you want it to be.
Ooh, I'm gonna do a plot twist. I'm gonna go with Toyota.
Yeah, you can't say anyone else. That is media training at its finest.
Left foot over here.
I love that. Thank you so much for chatting with us. You're so inspirational, not just to racing drivers or models. I think all women and all girls, and especially aspiring racing drivers. But thank you so much for your time and good luck for the 2025 season. I'm sure you're going to smash it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.